Did you know that the GTA 6 trailer had more views in 36 hours than 12 years of the original GTA 5 trailer? You're listening to the Xbox Hub Podcast, the official podcast of TheXboxHub.com. For all the latest Xbox news, reviews, videos, and opinions, make sure you visit TheXboxHub.com. But for now, settle down, get comfy, and open your ears for some podcast delights. Hello, welcome to the Xbox Hub Official Podcast, episode 187. My name's Gareth Briney. I'm going to be your host, and on my virtual left is Mr. Darren Edwards. How you doing, Darren?
Hello, good evening. It's nice to be here on a Friday night as well. How are you all?
Very good, very good. And on my virtual right is Mr. Paul Renshaw. How you doing, Paul?
Hey, I'm going to bring the hey-heys back since James isn't with us at the moment. So, yeah, I'm doing all right. Thank you, Gareth. How are you?
Very good. Paul's got some internet issues, so he can't speak over us. See, as he's just done then. So every time he speaks over us, he goes into a robot. So poor Paul's got to be very good and not interrupt us. Or
you've done this on purpose.
And on my virtual opposite is Mr. Richard Dobson. How you doing, Richard?
Hello, everyone. The poll setting's been switched off. It's a blessing. Let's do it.
Good. Now, today we've got a lot to go through. So we're not going to do any of the games we've been playing. We're not going to do any how we've been this week. No one's dying, are they?
No. Thriving, Gareth. Very much the opposite.
Good.
Especially with the poll measures in place.
Yes.
Someone's been looking at my Christmas list, clearly.
Do you know what? I don't have to come here to be insulted. I can go all sorts of places.
Good. There you go. So we're not going to do that because we've got two big things. We're going to do the Game Awards. That's what we're here for, to go through the games we liked and the things we liked or didn't like. And briefly, so Paul, you can go in the corner and read your Fisher magazines for a moment. Because we're going to talk about GTA. The trailer dropped on Tuesday, Sunday. And if you've listened to the start of the podcast, that trailer's gone down very well. It's in 36 hours, it got more views than the GTA 5 trailer over 12 years. So it's been seen by a lot of people. I will go to you, Paul, at the end, because I know you don't care about it, but I'll still talk to you about it. Darren, what's your thoughts about it? Any thoughts at all? Did you like it?
Yeah, to be fair, I thought it delivered everything that you'd want from a new GTA trailer. It looked brilliant, and it's brought back Vice City, which is my absolute favourite entry in the series, so I'm very happy. It looks like it's a huge area, and it's set in the state where Vice City is set. I can't remember what it's called. It's a play on Florida, though, isn't it? Because there's loads of kind of classic internet memes or scenes from around like Miami and stuff, and they've recreated those in the trailer. So it's very much kind of in tune with pop culture, I think, still. But yeah, it looked brilliant. I think I can't really pick any faults with it. I think it's definitely got the hype train rolling. So yeah.
So it's going to be released in 2025, and I didn't realise that. You just said it. These are actual memes of things that come from Florida, like the lady and the woman, sort of like dancing on the truck, all that stuff. Yeah. So, Richard, what were your thoughts?
Similar to Darren's, it's like you kind of Rockstar almost have a precedent when they do a reveal trailer for a new GTA game, and this one followed that along. I remember the GTA 5 one, I think, had Michael chatting, and this one's got Lucy chatting now over it. Gives nothing or very little away in terms of the story. Has a song playing in the background that everyone's gone mad for from Tom Petty. And yeah, I think it's purely just to sort of formally announce that GTA 6 is here. I was surprised by 2025, though. I did think it would be next year.
I think most people did. Yeah, it feels quite a long way away, doesn't it? But
yeah, it does still.
Yeah, but it's good to get it. It's got to be kind of ready. Paul, Eddie, did you watch it?
Of course I watched it, Gareth. You know I always do my homework. Yeah, it was all right. Vice City is the one that I despise the least out of the GTA franchise. So seeing that game, that sort of setting, with modern graphics and everything. It could be interesting. It just depends really on whether I can be bothered with it. I'm not a GTA fan. A regular listener may be aware of that. But yeah, it looked all right. The graphics looked good. There were a couple of outstanding points on that girl in the bikini by the pool that looked quite impressive. But yeah, other than that, it's GTA and next please.
When he talks about things like that, you can just talk over him because it would just keep him quiet.
Oh, we can just bleep it. Oh, brilliant. Real time.
Imagine that, you'd have to say something bad enough that a bloke with a Scouse accent talking over the top is preferable.
Oh my word.
Moving on.
Calm down.
Everyone's gone mad.
Excuse me.
Everyone's gone mad about Lucia, haven't they, as well? That's been the big thing. Everyone likes this main character, and that's going to be interesting.
Sorry, Gareth. Apparently, that's her in the bikini as well. There's been some investigations going on, like the internet does, with the red circles everywhere and everything. But apparently, that's Lucia as well.
Wow. There was another theory I saw that they're going mad about, is that they think that the trailers are in reverse. So when we see them at the end going into the store, that's almost the beginning of the story, and where we see her at the jail, that's at the end. Or at the start of the game. So that was a thought. But we don't know. We're going to get more. And also, they said, Rockstar, this is number one trailer. This is the first. I think they called it number one. So we're going to see over the next year, probably every 3 months or so, maybe something a bit more. Like Red Dead did that, didn't it? It had a few trailers. Yeah. But let's go to let's go to the Game Awards. Let's go there, because that's the other big thing this week. Before we go, we've picked 5 games each to talk about, and then we'll have a little kind of general chat about who won and maybe some other things that we missed out. But let's just talk about what we thought, because it's a long show. With the pre-show, it's about 3.5 hours long. Darren and Richard saw it live, talking to each other. First of all, let's go to Darren. What were your thoughts of the general? Was it good? Was it a good show?
So I think overall it was a good show. It was interesting though, because I'm kind of conflicted about how I feel about it, because I think in terms of the reveals and the amount of games that were there and the caliber of games, it was good, and they did pull out some really good surprises, which I'm sure we'll come on to talk about. But for me, I'm struggling to figure out what type of event it's trying to be. It didn't feel like it had a very strong theme. So what I mean by that is, it's not an award show, because there'll be one award where there's someone presenting it, and then Jeff will just rattle out 5 really quickly, and if you blink, you've missed it. But it's not exclusively a reveal show either, because then they do talk about the awards depending on, I guess, the type of award. They'll get various Hollywood actors these days seem to drop in and present them. So yeah, I've seen some commentary on the internet, and something that chimed with me was how little time the developers actually got. So after last year, and Christopher Judge, I think it is, his 8-minute speech or whatever it was, they were very on the button with hurrying people up. They barely open their mouths and the music will come in, and there was a screen apparently that would say, please wrap it up, and count them down for about 15 seconds. And there's developers there talking about, a member of their team passed away last month, and they're trying to dedicate the award to them. And then you've got Simu Liu from Shang-Chi talking about the boot on his foot for 2 minutes, and you've got Hideo Kojima, who just seems to be able to talk about a lot of abstract stuff for as long as he wants. So I did think the weighting was a little bit off, if I'm being honest. It is a long show as well, so yeah, I'm conflicted. That's kind of my thoughts on it, without ranting too much.
Yeah, I think from my point of view, it's too long. It doesn't need to be that long. Richard, what are your thoughts?
Again, similar to Darren's, we were chatting back and forth about it all last night. Some poor woman got cut off. She didn't get a chance to do a speech. And then even the the CEO of Larian Studios at the end in his armor was meant to announce at that point, I believe, that it was out on Xbox, and he forgot. He'd come out and said afterwards on Twitter that he was supposed to announce it at some point when he was on stage, and I don't know whether that was due to being rushed or whatever, even though they'd just won Game of the Year. I did appreciate how they made light of it when Christopher Judge was first up on stage.
Yeah.
But then very few other people got their moment to celebrate what they'd been working on for years, basically. So it was a bit disappointing to see that. And then also the lack of reference to all the layoffs this year in the gaming industry.
100%.
I think was a bit of a misread from Jeff.
Yeah. Good point, Richard. Paul, perfect. Did you have a great time? You enjoyed every moment of it?
No, I thought it was dreadful. There's too much Jeff and not enough people. These guys are slaving away for years on end to make these games. They get their moment in the sun where they've just won an award, and they have to listen to Jeff rattling on for 20 minutes, and then they get to come up on stage for 2. It just didn't seem fair. There was too much Jeff and not enough of the people that actually make the games that were supposed to be getting the awards. But, I mean, other than that, some of the announcements were quite good. Some of the people that they had speaking, I mean, they were so cheesy, it was unreal. I mean, it's like these people had never spoken in front of a crowd before. They get up and they make this lame-ass gag and then wait for somebody to laugh. And it's like, well, they're not going to laugh, mate, because that joke was rubbish. So, yeah, I wasn't awfully impressed. It's 3.5 hours of my life that I'm not getting back, I'm guessing.
Good.
At least you watched it, Paul, this week. That's
I
good.
was going to say, there's no chance in hell Paul's watched that in 3.5 hours.
I did. I was up at 5 o'clock this morning to watch it.
Wow.
So
It just finished at that point as well.
well, there you go. I went to bed because I'm not daft. Especially with a big night out tomorrow, we need to save our energy.
I'm young, though. Me and Darren are still young. We can manage it.
You can both bollocks.
Can I just add on to something Paul said, though, if I can clarify? I think I agree with a lot of the sentiment of what Paul said, and that's where I'm kind of struggling. Like, what type of event does he want it to be? Because it's kind of inherited E3's crown, or Summer Game Fest has. Some would argue, and then it seems that everybody now, every actor wants to have a starring role in a game because of how big the industry is. And I don't know, like, it was excruciating Anthony Mackie being on the stage. I know he was talking about Twisted Metal and he was presenting an awards, but it was just I nearly curled up on the sofa and hid until it was over. And then Matthew McConaughey coming out. I don't know whether I'm being unfair, but I've never known him to be like a massive gamer into video games, so it just came. Everyone's trying to get the kind of 2 pence worth in and get involved now, and for me, I don't know, like, do they need to cozy up to Hollywood and all these actors as much as they do? And there's plenty of other actors out there and talented people in the world of video games and animation that they probably would relish the opportunity to get involved in some of these projects. So yeah, I don't know, it just felt a bit like a bit of a buddying up party.
Yeah, no, good point.
What you're saying would require Jeff to wind his ego in a bit, though. And
me and
Jeff Keighley's show.
Me and Richard were joking because we were like, how long before Hideo Kojima comes out? Where is he? And then it started. It was a series of tweets where he was kind of getting closer and closer to him until they got a picture together backstage. So it is a bit of it is starting to feel like a bit of a mates club, which I do worry, because that's probably not what it was intended to be when it started out.
Can I play devil's advocate with people? Just
please.
If the Game Awards had fewer world premieres and it was purely just the awards and maybe 1 or 2 trailers, would we be tuning in to watch it live?
No, I would watch it, but probably not live. That's a fair point.
Yeah.
And also, I think I absolutely agree with everything you've all said. But I think for them it's successful. There are loads of people viewing it. People like the announcements. They do the applause, and I don't think I don't know how they were going to change it. I mean, I'm the big person for just like not having any presenters. You just have like clips. I love that, and a voiceover. I think it's great, but that's me. And you just get down to it and get it done in an hour. 3 hours is too long. But I agree with everything you said. But I think the biggest thing all three of you said is not giving those developers who have worked their asses off enough time in the sunshine for that. I think, and that's really important.
Absolutely, I would relish. There was a lot of trailers, and there wasn't an awful lot of gameplay. I would have traded in Gonzo and half of the others for some 2 minutes, kind of develop through.
Yes.
Hello.
Hello.
Can I just say, don't be dissing the Gonzo.
Yeah.
Say that again, Paul. We lost you there.
Don't be dissing the Gonzo. He was the best guest that was on there.
I just would rather 2 minutes of a developer talking us through some gameplay or something rather than. But then I guess that's where that's where they would say, well, it's an award show, so it's not a showcase. So that's where I'm just a bit like, by trying to tick all the boxes, I think you leave several different people unsatisfied rather, depending on what they're looking for from it.
Yeah. Good. Well, let's talk about some of the game reveals before we go into anything else. We've got 5 each. There's loads of, including the pre-show. Let's start with Paul. Let's start with you. What was your first game that you're kind of interested in for the reveals?
My first game was called Black Myth Wukong, and it's another take on the Journey to the West story that I did a game review about that not very long ago, and it wasn't very good. But this looked much more sort of, for want of a better word, Souls-like and combat heavy and just right up my street, to be honest. I mean, the character of the Monkey King is just one that appeals to me. It has done ever since I was a kid and used to watch Monkey on BBC Two at 6 o'clock in the evening. That's my first one.
Now, we know that we've known about this game for about 3 years now since it got announced. It's coming from a Chinese developer. It's on Unreal, one of the first games made in Unreal Engine 5. But we have got a release date, I think, haven't we? Isn't it the 20th of August this year?
Yeah.
Next year?
Yeah.
Which is great. I think that was a big cheer from the crowd. I think a lot of people are very excited about this game. Even though the developers have had some issues, and I can't remember what it was about. I think it was like sexism. I can't remember. There was something going on. Maybe let's scrap that from the record. But yeah, we're very excited to see what happens with that. 20th of August.
Developers are listening to the podcast going, they're talking about our game. Hang on a minute. What do you mean?
Gareth used to not represent the Xbox.com.
I'm sure of that. I'm not sure of it. Don't sue me. Okay. Good. That's coming out in August. I knew Paul would be very interested in that. It does look great, doesn't it? Everyone, I think it does look really good.
Yeah.
It looks hard. Darren, what's your first game?
So you're gonna curse me for this because it's pretty much going back. So Sega announced like a bumper pack of 5 titles that they're bringing back. So they're not straightforward remakes. They're kind of like revamps into the new era. So they had a pack of 5. It was Jet Set Radio, Crazy Taxi, Shinobi, Golden Axe, and Streets of Rage. So as a keen fan of games from that era, especially Jet Set Radio, I remember being really, really impressive, and I loved it. This was very, very exciting. I can't wait to see what they're going to do to bring it. I think they called it Power Surge in terms of the 5, and there was quite a cool little advert which was kind of similar to those Nintendo adverts where the friends or whatever sat on the sofa playing the games and stuff. So I'm very excited for this. It reminded me a bit of what Atari are doing with their Recharge, but I think they're going to take it further in terms of building new games, hopefully, to kind of bring these IPs back. Because I know me and Richard were chatting, and I'm sure he'll know more than I am, but Sega seems to be in a much better position these days than they have been for a little while. So I'm excited about what's coming.
Good. It's never going to be what you remember it to be, but it does.
Don't pour cold water.
You'll be slightly disappointed, but you have a good time.
Can I say
go on, Paul. Yes, please.
I was going to say, it doesn't look like it's going to be like you remember it, because the bit that stuck out for me was Golden Axe, which looked a lot more 3D than it used to. So it used to be very strictly 2D, but the bit that they showed, the tiny clip, it looked like it was more of a 3D type affair. So I think I'm with Darren. I'm quite excited about these. I think there could be something good. Shinobi, again, was another classic game. So, I mean, Jet Set Radio was a bit wet for me, but other than that, it was all pretty good.
I'll have to talk over you, Paul, if you say things like that, I'm afraid. But you're right.
Hot takes.
And excitingly, it said and more as well in the trailer. So they've got so many they can dip into. So I'm really, really excited to see what they do with these. Very excited.
Good, yeah. Richard, what about you? What's your first game?
I was excited for the DLC for Final Fantasy 16. They had a bit of a performance about half an hour before this announcement for Final Fantasy 7 Rebirth, where they played the theme tune. And then they showed a brief trailer, which is only like a third of the actual trailer that's been released since. And then Jeff was like, oh, and here's something else for Final Fantasy fans, and we're all getting a bit excited. And then it turns out it's a collaboration with Apex Legends. So I thought that was the Final Fantasy news done for the night. But then they turned up with this DLC announcement for Final Fantasy 16, the first of which is out today, which is called Echoes of the Fallen, I believe, and goes into some of the lore surrounding the Fallen that's not really touched upon in the main game. And then there's one coming out in spring, which is a bit more in depth and goes into one of the missing icons. But obviously, I don't need an excuse to jump back into this game. It's been very good to me this year. It's one of my favourites. But this DLC came across as a bit of like cut content, if I'm being honest. It's playable at the very end before you have the final battle. I think you need to be at that point where you're ready to go and do the final battle. But then this DLC is here, which I will obviously play, but it did come across as something that they just took out of the main game. Like a side story, and then they've just added it back in as DLC. So I'm not so sure. I think that the one later on, and I think spring next year, looks a lot better. And that one, I think they've already come out and said that one's going to be a bit more in depth. But this one just looks very short, is what I'm trying to say. I think.
Yeah, there's like a little bit of a side mission thing you do for a bit. Yeah. How much is it? Do you know?
I think the season pass is £20,
right,
and this one on its own is £8. But I think the other one, the one coming out a bit later on, is going to be a lot bigger. So that one will obviously be the more pricey one. But I think the season pass seems to be a decent deal.
But yeah, DLC drops were quite good. They had God of War DLC drop for kind of God of War 2. That was a free bit of thing. That's out as well in a couple of weeks. Good. Thank you, Richard. Who turns? Is it me? It's me. What do you think I'm going to go for, first of all? You can see on the list. I'm going to go for Hellblade 2. So we saw a bit more of that game. We saw the lead performer come out and present an award. And we saw a little bit more... What was interesting, it kind of looked like the original Hellblade, that sort of trailer stuff we had, which was much more about the kind of fighting stuff and the kind of mechanic when she's sort of wearing the health bar as a kind of like amulet on the side. And we saw a kind of battling. We saw the kind of, just that game looks ridiculous, kind of lighting-wise. It's just madness. It's unbelievable. It was a bit of a disappointment that we didn't get a release date for that, but maybe they're just holding on. Maybe they're holding on for an Xbox conference more than anything else, I think, probably. Do you think?
So they confirmed 24, didn't they, if I remember correctly, which was good. So I'll take that, to be fair, because every time I see it, I'm impressed all over again. So this is what I'm happy to wait for.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to that. It's going to be a big game this year, I think. I'm interested to see what they do with it. Have you all played the first one? Who's played the first one?
Yeah.
Paul, can you remember the first one? It kind of ends... Is this like a prequel?
I have no idea. I didn't finish it.
Oh,
You didn't ask me if I'd finished it. You just said, "Have you played it?"
my God.
Cut him
Unbelievable.
off.
Cut him off. Get him rid of him. Anyone else? Richard, Darren? Have you played this?
No, we were saying we
Oh,
both
yeah.
need to.
Get going. Yeah.
We do, yeah.
It does look amazing. It will be. It's a great bit of kind of like, I love that first game. So, and it's on Game Pass. So we'll find out soon. Paul, back to you, I think. What's your second game?
Right. Back to me. Just before I go on to my second game, can I ask Dobbo a question? Final Fantasy 16. Does it get better? Because I've done like the first hour and I've been sent to a swamp to hunt some goblins, and so far it's a bit shit.
Yes, it gets better.
Good. That's all I need to know.
I think you've played about 20 minutes of actual gameplay by that point.
Yeah.
Yeah, 3.5 hours of actual in-game time, but I played 20 minutes of controlling a guy. So
Yeah, you might have just had your first battle.
I think he has.
No, I haven't. No, I've got to this swamp where it says go and find these goblins, and I don't think I've fought anything yet. I've fought like a training tutorial mission against a fella, and that was it. So good.
Against a fella?
Yeah, against a fella in the castle. Some.
Oh,
lord.
yeah.
I like the fact he didn't ask me.
There's no point asking you.
I'm the first one who did it. Unbelievable.
Yeah, it's fresher in my memory though.
Yeah.
Richard's younger than you, as he's already pointed out. So
Yeah. Paul, what's your second game? Let's not talk about something that came out 8 months ago. Go on. I've cut you off completely. It's great. Go on, Paul. In your own time.
I've just tried to pad my part. Right. The next one I'm going to talk about is Last Sentinel. Now, we didn't see much of this. We didn't see any gameplay, but the trailer looked very cool, where there was a load of robots trying to batter down this door to get at the kids inside. And then somebody rocked up on a motorbike and took them all out, and she was called the Demon. And I just thought that looked very cool indeed. I like the style of it. And the way that it panned out at the end, and you've got like the traditional Japanese gate, and then this massive metropolis behind it. I thought, yeah, I can get behind this. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to that one.
Tell me a bit more about it, Paul. Tell me what it's going to be.
It's going to be a game, Gareth.
You didn't listen to anything else, did you?
Did you miss the point where I said it's the what we didn't see very much? I believe it's going to be some kind of action game, but, you know, all I look at is trailers. I wasn't listening to people.
Right, okay.
Whittering on too much.
So it is going to be, but it's going to be an open world game as well. So that whole kind of probably metro you saw is going to be an open world kind of action, big AAA game. That's what I'd say.
It's a good job you're here. That's all I'll say.
Yes. Good. Yeah, it does look good. I mean, we don't know much about it. We don't know when this sort of like coming out in 10 years' time. So we'll see. Who's next? Darren, let's go for your second one.
So my second one was actually in the pre-show. So it's a sequel to an amazing little indie game. So World of Goo 2. So the original World of Goo, I remember picking it up on the Nintendo Wii actually, and there was a service called WiiWare, which was like a small independent platform for developers. It was kind of the very start of buying games online through online kind of digital platforms, I guess, that's evolved so quickly over the last kind of 10, 15 years. So it's been 15 years just over since the original came out, and it was a physics-based like puzzle game essentially. So you have to manipulate the goo creatures and find your way through various kind of puzzle laden stages. And I remember it not only captured my imagination at the time, but the physics of how it worked. It was really, really good. So the trailer for the sequel, it looks pretty similar to the first one, to be fair, but I think more of the same in terms of this game is not going to be a bad thing at all. So I'm looking forward to playing it. I don't know if any of you have played it. I think it was on PC as well, but it originally landed on the Wii. it was a bit of a left field one that kind of had gathered a cult following. So I'm glad it's getting a sequel.
I've never played it. It looked fun though. It did look really good.
It is good and it works really well.
Out of that pre-show, that was the kind of more interesting one out of the little games. Good. World of Good 2 that's coming out in 2024. Richard, what's your... where are we? Is it Richard? Yeah, good.
Yeah, I'll save the next one on my list for when you mention the game that's related to it, Gareth. But I'll quickly talk about Big Walk. That is from Panic, or House, the one that did the Untitled Goose Game, and Darren and I were quite lyrical about this one when we were chatting during the trailer for this one. It just looks like the most fun co-op game I think you could have. It's sort of like a beautiful looking landscape, and then there were these weird walking things.
Looks a bit like Pingu.
Pingu with like slightly longer necks and legs, I guess. But yeah, it just looked like so much fun, and anyone that ever played Untitled Goose Game will know how much fun that was, being a bit of a bastard. But this one has like a co-op element to it, and I guess we don't know much about it, but from the trailer and the name suggests that you're just going on a big walk with friends and having fun.
Yes.
And I'm all in for it. And I know this one's coming out 2025 as well, but I'm really going to keep my eye on this one.
Yeah, it does look really good fun. It just looks like I like a game that you got no idea what it is, but it makes complete sense at the same time.
Yeah, that's exactly how it felt. Oh. I didn't know what was going on, but I knew I wanted to play it straight away.
Yeah, it does look good. Good. Sorry, Paul.
Sir, can I just I'm interested to know which part of what you saw looked like fun to you, because I
feel like this is a loaded question.
No. I watched the same trailer, and I loved Untitled Goose Game. That was brilliant. But I just watched it, and it left me completely cold. There didn't seem to be any point to what you were doing. There wasn't seem to be any idea of what it was going to be about. It just looked like a bunch of weird-looking things looking in a hole in the ground.
I think that's part of it, though. You were walking what looked like familiar terrain, and then these things found this hole, and intrigue got the better of them all, and they all just decided to jump down it. And I think if you're there with friends and you're on this big walk, as I'm presuming that the gameplay will be, and you find something, and you're just like, well, let's go take a look. And then they all started sliding down this hill in another bit of the trailer, and I just thought, it just looks like a lot of fun. Like if you're online with friends, and you play this game, you see something in the distance, you're like, let's go explore it. There's a big hole in it, and you just jump down it. And then what did they find? Did they find like a picnic or something down there in the trailer?
Yeah,
who knows? Who knows what else you could find?
I think, Paul, for 2025, you need to review a lot of the games that I review. Stranger games. that are not just shooting things. or doing things with spells. You got to get your magic back, Paul. The magic of wonder. What do you think about that?
I think that, you know what, if it makes my life a little bit easier, instead of reviewing 30-hour, 40-hour extravaganza RPGs, I play some little stupid game where I walk about. Yeah, I think I can get behind that.
Good. There you go. That's a deal. Neil? Yeah.
But
go on.
The flip side is you have to review the games that I'm reviewing.
Well, we tried to, but you take them all.
That's such a lie.
We don't get informed of them before.
No. Yeah.
Listen, it's not what you know, it's who you know.
I'm going to move on to my second game, which is... I'm going to mention OD, which is we talked about Kojima coming on in the middle of the thing. I mean, it is hilarious. I think you're both right. It's like his little buddy Kojima. We had a special door made for him. Jordan Peele joined him. He talked about a game that we had no idea or anything about it. There was some kind of like strange video stuff that was obviously stuff that he just He's been working on some motion capture, and let's just put that together. Say a poem in a different way. But, we've talked about in this podcast before. I do love Kojima. I love the madness of it. I love Death Stranding. I'm looking forward to that, if that's ever going to come out in the next couple of years, too, the second one. It's on Xbox. It's going to be a Game Pass game. It's good to have a little bit of madness. Whatever's going to come out of this. Sorry, Dan, what are you going to say?
No, I was saying to Richard before the show, are we finally going to get some information on this unannounced Xbox project he's been working on? Because I think he popped up at the Game Awards a year or two ago and was like, hi, everyone, I'm working on a game, and then went again, and that was it. So it is intriguing, and he is very good at what he does, and he's developed some amazing games, goes without saying, but it was so abstract and there was so little detail. I found myself thinking, okay, can you just wheel them off the stage and get on to the next one, please? Because I didn't learn anything about it at all. Which I know they've really hyped it, saying, haven't they? It's going to be nothing like you've seen before. It's going to be a bit of this and a bit of that, but also different at the same time. And it's been a long time, so if they don't start releasing some concrete stuff soon, I'm going to struggle to get on the hype train for it, I think.
Yeah. I think we should all wear the jacket he had as well with the lovely silver horse on the... I love that jacket.
Oh, yeah. That's his studio logo. It's
thing. Oh, yeah.
The pin.
It's good. I like it.
It's more than a pin, but it's like a blooming emblem. But yeah.
But yeah, that's all it is. I'm always up for something a bit odd with Kojima, and we'll find out in 2028 what this game might be.
Yeah.
Good. Let's go on to our third game. Mr. Renshaw, what have you got?
Hello. Yes, the third game on my list is you notice I'm not touching Kojima with a barge pole. I'm staying well away from that. The third game on my list is the first Berserker Kazan. And again, I think this is a game that we've seen before, but now we've got an actual good look at what's going on with it. And the thing I liked about it was the art style. It was very kind of cartoony. It looked very gory. It looked very violent. All the things I look for in a game. And yeah, it's another one that's on my list. It's another one that's kind of action adventure, possibly open world. I'm sure Gareth will correct me in a minute. But yeah, just on the strength of the trailer alone, sold.
Good. I think the animation style is amazing on this. Yeah, I agree. It's absolutely... I don't think I've ever seen anything like that mixes kind of like an Unreal Engine type thing with a kind of animated, beautifully drawn figure. It's just kind of like, yeah, it did look very impressive. It was another sort of like fighty game, though. There's a lot of those kind of games that I'll start to look very familiar after a while. I'm thinking, please don't let it be Souls. Please don't let it be Souls-like.
You may notice a thread running through my game choices.
Yeah, but they need to... I hope everyone's not going to copy that. I've said this before and just keep repeating that formula because they're never going to do it right. But it did look great. Sorry, anyone else, Darren, Richard, want to say about this?
I think I'm just going to back what you said because I can't remember this one. Sorry.
Too much red wine, Darren. Too much red wine.
That might be part of
it. Good. That does look good, though. We don't know when that's coming, do we, Paul? I think it might be... There wasn't a date on that.
Sometime in the future. Good. I'm probably thinking 25.
Great. Good. We'll go with that. That and the court case that I'm going to face with those two.
The Xbox Hub lawyers. Can't wait.
Yeah. Richard, what have you got?
Kemuri. So... midway through the show, Ikumi Nakamura jumped out onto stage bursting with energy. She previously worked at Tango Gameworks, so she's worked on The Evil Within, and she was creative director on Ghostwire Tokyo. So she was responsible for how the game looked, basically, and looking at Shibuya, which was one of my favorite things about this game. And she's bringing out an art book towards the end of this year, start of next year, that I've signed up because her vision for looking at buildings and seeing these things is excellent. And her first game for her new studio got announced, which is this Kemuri. And looking at it afterwards, I didn't realise that another guy called Liam Wong, who's another brilliant photographer and games designer, he's worked on Crysis and Far Cry. He was the director for that trailer, so those two are working together for this Kemuri. And as soon as I saw these two names in the same sentence, I was fully invested in whatever is going to be coming out. I mean, the trailer didn't give much away, but their vision for what this city is going to be in Kemuri has got me really, really interested.
It's funny, isn't it? Like certain games, it's a personality or a name, isn't it? Like a developer, they don't need to show much because people are like you and thousands of others are already invested in that just by that person coming onto stage. And like you said, we didn't see much of it, but everyone was quite excited. Paul, do you like the look of this?
I did like the look of
I
it.
thought
I've got to say the same thing with Dobbo. When this woman came on the stage, I had no idea who she was. But by the time she'd finished explaining who she was and what she was making, I was just like, this sounds absolutely awesome. Her passion for what she was making was fantastic. It was really good to see. She was almost like the most genuine person there that night, I thought. But yeah, the game itself, again, like you said, we don't know much about it, but it's certainly one that I'm going to keep an eye on.
Good. Darren, what's your next game?
So my next game was No Rest for the Wicked. So this comes from Moon Studios, who are responsible for the absolutely fantastic Ori games. So I'd heard they've been working on a new project, and it's an action RPG. So according to the developers, it was kind of back in 2018 when this kind of first came into the conceptual stages. And again, it was a trailer with, not a lot of gameplay or any gameplay, if I remember correctly, but it looked brilliant, absolutely brilliant. And, coming from the pedigree of that studio, I'm really excited to kind of see where they go with it. They're saying that it's a fresh take on the action RPG genre, because like you said, Gareth, I think there's an awful lot of those types of games out there at the moment. So I'm really excited to actually get into the nitty gritty of what it's going to be and how it's going to play. But they have said that they're doing a digital showcase on March the 1st, where they're going to do a proper deep dive into the game. So I'm really, really looking forward to this, because if you haven't played the Ori games, you should go and play them, because they're amazing.
Yeah, it does look good. It does look very good. I thought it was, oh my God, it's coming out March the 1st. And it was like, no, that's when our conference is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sadly not.
Yeah. My next one I'm going to talk about really briefly, because there isn't much to know, is I'm just going to mention Blade. I like the Blade from Marvel's whole story, the kind of vampire daywalker, killing other vampires. I like the little kind of trailer. Obviously, this is quite a long way away, but it's been made by what's the studio?
Arcane Leon.
Yeah,
did
Deathloop, and they did Dishonored. So really kind of high pedigree there. It's kind of set in Paris. I like the developer with his long coat and high kicks.
Yeah, yeah, I know. I thought Jeff was going to call security when he started.
But yeah, I think it's a really good match. I think it's not a lot to say, because it's not coming out for ages. But yeah, I'll be quite excited about this for a while.
I have a question on that though, because it's obviously Arcane Leon and Bethesda. It's Xbox exclusive, but why didn't they put the Xbox logo on it or anything like that?
It's a really good point. Yeah,
there's been a lot of discussions I've seen on Twitter after the Game Awards, like, is it going to be multi-platform or is it not? I was like, no, it won't be. It's Bethesda, it's Xbox, but why aren't they plastering Xbox Game Studios and the logo around all that? Because that was one of the biggest reveals of the night.
Yeah.
I just thought that would have been a good shot for Xbox to, really
say,
this is what we're working on.
Really good point.
You know why it is, though, don't you? It's so that all the Sony fans can get their hopes up and then be absolutely outraged when it's going to be Xbox.
I don't think the marketing manager is you, though, Paul. I think everyone else loves all gamers and wants the best for everyone.
Are you talking as a PS5 owner now, Paul, or
Yes.
from the position you were in a month ago?
I represent all gamers. I'm completely platform agnostic. I'm not a fanboy in any way, shape, or form. I just think, looking back to like the Redfall and the Starfield and the great wailing and gnashing of teeth from the other side of the fence, I think that that's what they're going to do again, so they can get a lot of publicity out of it.
Good. There you go.
Sorry, one more thing on the Marvel bit though. I said to, I won't keep you long. I said to Richard, there was a reveal last year of an untitled Captain America and Winter Soldier game, I think, that had a very short cinematic trailer set what looked like World War II Germany at the rise of Hydra. That's sank without a trace, so I was hoping to see a bit more of that when the Marvel stuff came up, but nothing. So I don't know if that still exists or what.
What about the Wonder Woman game?
Oh, I've completely forgot about
Yeah. Okay, good. There we go. Let's go to our fourth game. Let's go to Paul. What we got?
Hello again. What have I got? This is a game I've actually heard you talk about before, but I didn't really know very much about it until I watched the trailer, and that's The First Descendant. This is one that's on your radar, I believe, Gareth, is it?
Yep. Talk about it.
I'll talk about it. Apparently, from reading around, obviously doing my research like a good podcast employee, it's a kind of looter-shooter game, which obviously is right up my alley since I've spent so much time playing Destiny and stuff. And the trailer looked... See, the trailer's making me emotional. The trailer looked so good. Oh, hang on. Excuse me. Yes, the trailer looked very good. Lots of action, lots of fighting, lots of big things to take down. And I don't know for certain, but it looked kind of multiplayer. There seemed to be multiple protagonists attacking all the enemies at once. So that's something to look forward to. If it's going to be a proper big multiplayer game, that would be good. So yeah, other than that, it's killing things in mech suits and stuff. So yeah, quite like that.
Perfect for you and everyone. Yeah, good. Good. Yeah. It does look interesting.
It's only for me. That's right. Nobody else in the world will play this game.
Richard, what's your fourth game?
The one that Jeff left until the end, the reveal of Monster Hunter Wilds, and it followed the trend of the trailers from all the other developers. There was very little gameplay, but it was a sizzle trailer to get gamers excited and formally announce a new game was happening. And I saw that this one is targeting Series X and PS5, which is what got me mainly excited because the previous Monster Hunter game, Rise, was originally released on the Switch, and I think it struggled when it was brought over to Xbox and PlayStation as a result. Whereas the one before that, Monster Hunter World, was just Xbox and PlayStation and then PC eventually. And that one was arguably a lot better than Rise, I think, because of that. So the fact that Monster Hunter Wilds, the new one, is going to be PS5 and Xbox Series X, I think puts it in good stead for being a much better Monster Hunter game than Rise was.
Good.
I haven't got anything else.
No, I got me, James, and another gamer. We went and tried to play that when it came on the Xbox, and we were stuck in the hub area for about 2 hours. We couldn't work out how to start a mission, and then we just gave up.
In Rise,
yeah.
They really simplified everything in World, and I think it made it the franchise a lot more accessible for new players, including myself. And then Rise came about and sort of tailored, I think, more towards the traditional Monster Hunter players.
Right.
And I was in a similar position at one point in that hub area.
We just wandered around.
Yeah.
Chatting. Sorry, Paul, go on.
Can I ask, given that you're a Monster Hunter fan, Dubbo, what did you reckon to that Is it Monster Hunter now? They're from Niantic, the same people that do Pokemon.
Yeah, I think they're really good. I think the problem is that Niantic have sort of diversified a little bit too much. So they obviously had Ingress was the first one, then Pokemon Go, and then there's been 4 or 5. I think they did a Harry Potter one. There's a Pikmin one. There's now Monster Hunter. And I get that they're trying to bring these new franchises in for people that weren't necessarily interested in Pokemon, but at the same time, I would just be trying to focus on making one of them as good as possible, rather than diluting your crowd and getting them to play different ones, because they're all very similar, where you're walking along either collecting Pokemon, catching Pikmin, or fighting monsters.
Yeah,
Interesting.
good. Darren, what's your fourth game?
My fourth one was Jurassic Park Survival. So I'm a big fan of anything Jurassic Park. And this is a game that's set a day after the original film ends, I think, on the Isla Nublar, where the park was set up. And there was a really, really good cinematic trailer, and there was some alpha in-game footage spliced in there as well. But I'm going to completely contradict what I said earlier. Even though there wasn't a lot of gameplay, I still really enjoyed the trailer because it captured the spirit of the films really well. So I think there's an InGen scientist. She's kind of left behind after the evacuation, and she's trying to get off the island. And there's kind of dinosaurs jumping at you across the decks of boats and chasing you through the kitchen, a classic scene from the original film. I don't know if you'll remember the film, but they lock one of the raptors in there, I think. And I remember Ryan, we watched the trailer, he said, "Oh, hang on, there's still going to be one in there, isn't there?" And then at the end of the trailer, the door kind of creaks open and you hear it. So it looks like it's being really, really faithfully done for fans of the series. So we don't really know an awful lot about the type of game and how it's going to play, but it was just giving us an idea of setting. But I've got to say, like, it looks like quite an intense experience, similar maybe to the kind of Alien Isolation style, where you're being stalked by the enemy around kind of corridors and the lab and stuff like that. So I'm hoping that this is going to be a really good one and they'll get it right, because it could be brilliant.
Great, yeah. I mean, first of all, I thought, is this a VR game?
Yeah, that's what I thought.
And then
I played that one, and it's very similar.
Yeah, but then I thought, oh yeah, no, I'd be interested in that. Is it first person? No, we don't know, do we?
No, I mean, I think from some of the alpha footage, it was from a first person perspective, because you could see like hands and legs and stuff as she was scrabbling around trying to get away from one of the dinosaurs. So potentially, yeah, it will be.
Dino Crisis. Why haven't they brought that back? That was a good franchise. Remember that?
They should.
As they will.
Paul, what were you going to say?
I was going to say the Dino Crisis is a good call. That needs to come back.
Doesn't it?
I mean, yeah. After it went crazy at the end in 3, where there were dinosaurs in space.
That's right.
Yeah. It needs to go back to its roots.
Yeah.
So, but I used to love Dino Crisis.
I did, yeah. Good. Thank you, Darren. Let's go to me for the fourth game. I'm going to talk about a game that it's Light No Fire, which is from the makers of No Man's Sky. No Man's Sky, I've basically put hundreds of hours on it. I started on PS4, then I went to Xbox, then I started again on Series X. I think I must have reviewed it for us for Series X. I've put ridiculous amounts of hours, so I've played that game and loved that game and just had a great time. Really loved I loved it when it was like, it was having problems. I think it was one of the first ones I got on the PS4. And I like that studio. I like their kind of like what they're trying to do. And this new game, which is Light No Fire, which is this idea that you've got this huge kind of Earth that's you can go kind of anywhere, this massive space, and it's a multiplayer game. That's all we kind of know. We saw a trailer with sort of people running around on kind of mounts, had a kind of fantasy feel to it. I just like what they do. I'd be very interested in playing that again and seeing what to explore. So I'm really excited about that. We don't know about a date for that. They kept saying there's only 12 of us working on it. Why is there only 12 of you? No Man's Sky's made some money, hasn't it? That was my thought.
all this stuff, all the post-release stuff's been released for free though.
Oh yeah.
I think they're missing a trick.
Yeah. So it looks like it might be a little while, but there's a lot going on with that. It looked quite detailed, but they've got to get that multiplayer right. If it's this kind of like whole world that's generated by everyone, they've got to get that, logistically right for it to work. But I'm sure they will. Good. Let's go on to the last game. Paul, what have you got?
The last game for me on the list, even though it wasn't sort of officially announced in the show, has got to be Baldur's Gate 3. Now that it's actually available for the Xbox, I'm just absolutely dying to play this game. You look at the amount of awards that it won, and it's obviously something very special. I reviewed the last 2 games for the site and really enjoyed them, but it looks like this third game is taking it to a whole nother level. So yeah, I mean, it's just the biggest, bestest RPG of the year. I mean, you can see that from it won Game of the Year, for goodness sake. So, it's just going to be fantastic, and I'm very much looking forward to playing it.
Well, we look forward to seeing Darren or Paul, or not Paul, Darren or Dave might be reviewing this for us, I think.
Yeah, I'm sure it'll be one of them, because, you put a word in behind the scenes and it'll be like, well, don't give it to Paul. We'll just mute it. In fact, let's just delete his comment. Yeah,
I bet Paul's had the review code for the past week.
I think he has.
Yeah, I mean, Paul's VIP code list is going to come up in the inquiry next week, so don't worry about that.
I can neither confirm nor deny.
It does look good. It's worth mentioning if you haven't seen. You'll see all the lists of the awards. We won't go through. I think it was quite, just briefly talk about the award things. It was quite a healthy split, I thought. Even though Baldur's Gate won quite about most of it, but Alan Wake 2 won some, Forza won some.
I didn't win any.
Hi-Fi Rush picked up a goal.
Yeah, it was a good mixture of stuff. I think it was not too bad. Yeah, Final Fantasy won best score. It was a good range of. I think it was quite equal.
Sorry, Paul. Did you say Spider-Man didn't get any?
I said Spider-Man didn't win any. Yeah.
So no, apart from
that, I'm not too upset about that. I mean, now that I'm a proud owner of a PS5, I should probably pick it up at some stage.
I finished it last night. It's very good. It's very, very good.
Are you going to be selling it again?
I might be getting rid of it, actually. Yeah, it's good.
Yeah. Well, if you are, let me know.
We'll talk about this out of the podcast.
We'll take offers. We'll do an auction on the next podcast.
Good. That's Baldur's Gate 3. I'll probably get a review for us from someone in the next couple of weeks. But before the end of the year games, it's just slipped in. But it's on the store now. Let's go to Richard. What's your last game?
I've just quickly added one to the list that I forgot about. The casting of Frank Stone, which is a single-player narrative tie-in to Dead by Daylight. I've only ever played Dead by Daylight once, and I think it was with you guys one night. And never played it since. But as soon as I saw Supermassive making another horror narrative, that piques my interest, because they usually don't miss. And obviously we didn't get a Dark Pictures game this year, as they sort of in between what they're classing the season 1 and season 2. So I haven't had my Supermassive games fixed this year. So the sooner that this new one comes out, I will probably play it, even though I have no knowledge of who Frank Stone is or anything from Dead by Daylight.
Who is Frank Stone? Do you know anything about him? Because
I'm guessing he's the guy that had the mask on at the end, but I could be very wrong.
But they were sort of talking about it like it was like it was like Dracula. It's like, we know he is Frank Stone.
Oh yeah, Frank Stone, yeah.
Everyone's googling now. Who's Frank Stone? Who the hell is Frank Stone? Anyway, we'll find out about who is Frank Stone soon. But it does look good. Supermassive are always fun. I have missed them this year. They were going to do a space game next, weren't they? Anyway, so
that's the next one for the Dark Pictures. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, it would be good. Darren, what's your last one?
So I've not chosen a game for my last one, but more a moment. So I couldn't go through a podcast without talking about Alan Wake 2. So they announced that New Game Plus is on the 11th, but also the Poets of the Fall, who double up as the old gods of Asgard in the game, turned up to do a live performance of Herald of Darkness, which is the song, a contracted version of the song that's played during the We Sing segment in Alan Wake 2, which, as we've talked about before, is my kind of gaming moment of the year, if not over the last few years. So I thought it went really well, and Sam Lake got involved, and just the sheer brilliance and lunacy of it all. I think it was entertaining if you've not played the game, but if you have played the game and you know what it's referring to, it was even more enjoyable. So I thought that was very well done, I must say.
Paul, big fan of that?
The song was all right. It meant nothing to me because I've not played Alan Wake 2. But I was surprised at the amount of music that was throughout the show. Because there was like the bird that was singing that song from Senua, and then there was
bird.
And then it was at the end when they were doing the game of the year. It was the orchestra playing all the different tunes, and the bloke on the end with the flute is my star of the evening.
Oh, Flute Man. They do it every year, don't they, the medley?
Awesome.
Yeah.
I would like to apologise for Paul's 1977 On the Buses revival.
Alf Garnett over there.
For God's sake.
Paul will be in court next to me next week.
You've done with the Xbox Hub lawyers, I think I'll need them.
Sure, will be busy.
Yeah, good. It was good to see that. Yeah, I agree. I think all the musical stuff is good fun. Good to see. Good. That was it's me, isn't it? It's the end. Have I missed anyone out? No, I haven't.
No.
I'm going to do two quickies. I'm going to do the first one, Lost Records by the people who made Life is Strange. I'm kind of intrigued by that. It's kind of 4 girls. They're very good at doing that kind of 90s sort of teenage stuff, but it looked quite intriguing. We didn't know much about it. But I've got to mention Skull and Bones, because it got a release date, but it was almost like someone was going, "Oh yeah, it's being released." It's like someone saying it under their breath. It's coming in February. There's a little trailer that says, "Oh yeah, it's been released in February." It's like, no, you need a big you need a fanfare for this. It's finally got a release date. But they were like, I worry for this game. I worry that they know what it's like. But I might be wrong. It might be brilliant. Richard, what do you think?
I think this latest trailer was the most interesting one I've seen for it. But I spoke to Darren about this when they announced it as well, that Ubisoft didn't have any on-screen time in the traditional sense. All their trailers, such as the Prince of Persia one, this one, and they had another one as well, I can't remember.
The bit about Avatar.
There was a bit about Avatar, yeah. But they were all in what Jeff was referring to as the ad breaks. So I don't know why that is. I think there's a lot of weird things that Ubisoft are doing at the moment. And this is just another weird... Like they're almost having these continual brain farts, and this just seemed to be another one that they didn't have any on-stage presence at all. Maybe I'm reading too much into this, but they had to pay for their own airtime, whereas a lot of the others seem to have Jeff visiting their office, and he's like, "Oh, I want this in the Game Awards" and things like that. There's just something weird going on there.
Yeah. Well, it's coming. Finally coming. I've got a soft spot for it now because it's been for such a long time. I'm looking forward. I'll play it. Paul, you going to play it?
I don't know, to be honest. Of all the Ubisoft things, I think the one I'm most excited about is that Prince of Persia one, because that looked really good. But
yeah,
Skull and Bones, it's been coming for so long now. It's become like Beyond Good and Evil 2. It's never going to arrive.
Yeah.
So.
Good.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, Paul. I mean, I will agree with you that the Prince of Persia game does look brilliant, and I will have to fight you for that in the Trello boards.
Good. Right, gentlemen, that's all the we've missed it. We've obviously loads of stuff we missed out, but that's our kind of 5 top. We could go through everything. We're not going to go through everything. So I'm just going to mention one more thing, though. Another game that sort of slipped into that weird February world is Suicide Squad. I forgot about that.
Oh, I was going to mention that. Yeah, because apparently
Yeah.
they've said that it will have an offline mode after launch.
After launch. Okay.
Yeah, after launch.
Right.
So I don't know if they've thought, okay, we hear you. We're going to release it, and then we'll make sure you can play it offline.
It doesn't look fun, does it? I like the cutscenes, but I don't.
I don't. The whole premise of it just seems a bit stupid to me. You know, you've got Harley Quinn and Killer Crow and that Shark fella and whoever else, and they're going up against Superman. I mean, there can only be one winner. So yeah, it just seems silly. But you know, I think if we get a group together, if we play it as a team, I think we might get some fun out of it.
Okay, there we go. Final notes on that. Yeah, good. Gentlemen, thank you so much for your time. That's good. We're not going to be back next week. We'll be back. You'll be listening to it this week in this weird time thing. But for the next podcast, we're going to do our Xbox Hub Game of the Year Awards. It's what we voted for in our team. So we'll have our Game of the Year and our Indie Game of the Years as well. So that'll be our next
We've
podcast.
also got 30 world exclusive trailers to go alongside it, so don't miss that.
World premiere.
But it's just Skull and Bones. Just clips from that. All Skull and Bones. Right, gentlemen. Until next time, thank you so much, and we'll see you soon. Bye-bye.
Goodbye.
Bye-bye.
You've been listening to the official podcast of TheXboxHub.com. You'll be able to find all the notes of this show at www.TheXboxHub.com/podcast. You can also check out our social feeds on Instagram and Twitter at The Xbox Hub, and search for The Xbox Hub on Facebook.